There's over 200 hours of Star Wars on film. This is the Star Wars Binge, where we collect, edit, assemble, order. Crap, what do we do here? We used to...
We just talk. That's what we do.
We end up doing deep dives into all the new material recently. And
we're talking about what we're disappointed with, which feels like what happens more often than not now.
That is true. But today we get to give a eulogy, that's not right, an elevation of a man whose work has been very important to us, not only for Star Wars, but in the theater and just as a constant good presence.
Yeah, film and television. And
the great James Earl Jones passed here in the last 2 days, and at the age of 93.
Yeah, that's a good long run.
Read that he is one of the few people who's won a Grammy, an Emmy, an Oscar, and a Tony.
Yeah, he's one of the few people who have the EGOT status.
Yes, the EGOT. If you don't get that Tony, you just sound pompous. It's just all ego then, right?
Right, it's just an ego. Yeah, I don't remember who I heard talking about that, but they had the Emmy, the Grammy, the Oscar, and they said I just have an ego, which is nice. If you get the, I listened to an interview the other day with the great Alan Menken, composer of many great Disney works, and in addition to winning Emmys, Grammys, Oscars, and Tonys, he has also received a Razzie Award.
Yeah, yes,
and they were, which is for work that people think is trash, and they were trying to figure out how you add that into where you add the R into the EGOT, but
you get the REGOT.
REGOT, I think was what they came up with. Yeah, I was like, I like that.
Well, we are going to, in order to celebrate James Earl Jones, we're going to be going through our top 10 favorite Darth Vader lines out of the films and animated series that were performed by Mr. Jones. And in order to get into this, one of my favorite podcasts used to be called The Top 10 with the great John Roca and Matt Nost. They signed off a year or two ago, but their format is really clever, and it's each of them come with a top 10 list. They each going from their 10th favorite to their number 1 favorite, just work through their list, and as they go, if one of the participants has an answer the other thinks is much higher on their list, they punt it, they send it down the road, and they talk about it later. And I thought that would be a worthwhile structure for this as we go through Daniel and I's favorites of James Earl Jones' performances of Darth Vader lines. So,
absolutely. I also think it's just worth saying, since we're talking about James Earl Jones, before we get into just talking about him as Darth Vader, and I know we briefly talked about some of his work on film, on stage, on small screen, but also think just yesterday and today I just sort of went down a rabbit hole of great James Earl Jones stuff on YouTube. There's the entirety. PBS aired the entirety of a production of King Lear that he did in the 70s, and it is unreal. I watched about 20 minutes of it last night, and it's gorgeous. And his command of, obviously his voice, because we hear that so often, but just when you get to see his whole body do something, it's like, yeah, that command of the voice he also had over his face, over his head, over his body, he was just such an amazing. A lot of people on social media have been sharing a great clip of him in the production of Fences he did, and
right.
if you haven't seen that, go take 4 minutes and watch it. It's a 4-minute masterclass in acting, and there was nobody that could do the stuff that James Earl Jones did.
Yep, delivered some of the great monologues that are out there into Field of Dreams. There's some Lion King goodness.
Nothing is more boring to me than baseball, but that James Earl Jones, that baseball speech, there's always been baseball. That's amazing.
Draws you in still.
Yeah, it makes me go, oh yeah, baseball could be interesting, and then of course I watch baseball, and I'm like, no, it's not.
It's gotta have the experience. It's a conversion experience. Something has to click in your guts, and then you're in.
I guess, yeah.
The baseball gods have to choose you.
Could be better friends with Ken Burns, I guess.
There it is.
But his speech in that is so good. And yeah, you're right, the Lion King. and even like I have no interest in seeing the live action version of the Lion King that Disney made.
Sure.
Nor do I have any interest in seeing their like Mufasa prequel, which I don't even understand.
Ah.
But the fact that they recast those movies, except for James Earl Jones, everybody else is new, current, popular actors, but they said no.
Yep.
James Earl Jones must come back to play Mufasa. I think that should tell you a lot.
Yep.
Right. The fact that they've not hired another actor to be the voice of Darth Vader, but the fact that James Earl Jones has given Lucasfilm and Disney permission to sort of AI and computerize his voice, I think should tell you a lot too. That it's like you can't do these without this guy.
Truth.
That's how great he was, and how many people about which can that be said?
Love the hell out of the Jack Ryan Hunting for October material. He has in what is it? Clear and Present Danger. He has a great last couple lines. He's dying of cancer, and there's a scene with he and Harrison Ford that's just really, really well done, in which he's just saying how sad he is at the state of the world as he's dying of cancer. He's like, I served the government for 40 years, and then I read this in the newspaper, and just powerful. Anyway.
He has a great, small but wonderful part in Doctor Strangelove. As one of the fighter pilots, and he's super interesting and super fun to watch in that. Great cameo appearances in shows like Will and Grace. There's the best scene in that is when he's talking to Karen, who's played by Megan Mullally, and she's like, "Yeah, it's really kind of been downhill since this is CNN." And he was like, well, "What about Darth Vader and Mufasa and whatever?" And she's like, "Meh, I don't know." And he's like, "Don't make me go get my Tonys." It's just such a great, he plays himself, and it's so fun. It's so self-aware. He's got an amazing one-episode cameo in Frasier as a man who's lost his wife and can't see, and he has a plaster cast made of his wife's face that Kelsey Grammer accidentally breaks the nose off of, and it becomes a farce as it only can in Frasier. And finally, Frasier has to apologize. He goes, "I'm so sorry I broke the nose off her." And he goes, "Oh yeah, I've done that many times myself." He goes, "We just keep gluing it back on." And it's just so there is a stillness and a sweetness and a command of anything that he is doing that is just amazing and absolutely worth watching.
Yeah.
Just to say, because I do, not that Darth Vader, it's not like, Darth Vader sucks, but I do feel like the guy sometimes very often gets only remembered for being Darth Vader, and of course Darth Vader is iconic and amazing, but I think we would be remiss to not say there's so many other great James Earl Jones works out there, and you should go. Great White Hope is incredible. You should go. I don't love sports things, but I love that. Go seek this stuff out if you love James Earl Jones. Interesting fact,
he wasn't even credited on the original film. They didn't put his name in because voice acting isn't a big deal. And Lucas just has this radar for finding people who are really talented, especially early on. I mean, the cast, just outrageous. But he's credited now for sure.
Oh yeah, it's going to be synonymous with that guy.
Yeah. Bang. Well, we're starting with our top 10 quotes. You want to start us off? What's your number 10?
Yeah, my number 10. I feel like I want to throw a card and have it shatter a window, David Letterman style, doing a top 10 list. Paul, we got time for this? My 10. I had to go with this. It is the line that everybody thinks of when they think of Darth Vader, even though they don't quote it correctly. My 10th is Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your father.
Ooh.
Luke has his response. I kind of mashed them together. Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your father.
That is...
I am your father.
Starting out at the bottom with the most famous of lines. I'm kicking that forward, but just to say it, I also, looking at that, I'm like, the setup really matters here. And we'll talk about this later, but it's not just that I am your father. It's the setup. Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your father. The delivery there, he's going for his guts right there. So
yeah, and the way he says it too, it's just so that this, Obi-Wan never told you.
Yeah.
It's just like, because he knows.
Yep.
and you don't know how long. The way that those films have worked, construction, reconstruction, and whatever else wise, who knows what
Sure.
he knows and what? But it's just when you look at it in the whole pantheon, it's like, I have this thing that can hurt you, and I've been sitting on it. And now when you're literally in a place where you could die at any moment, I'm going to give you this piece of information, and you choose what to do with it.
Yeah.
He's just, the line is great, and his line reading of it is gorgeous.
It's good. We'll talk about that in a second. What's your number 9?
Number 9 is one from A New Hope, actually, when he says, "Commander, tear the ship apart until you find those plans."
Perfect. Let's talk about that. That is not on my list, but those are early the introductory scenes. His character is coming out right here.
And he's been ominous and present and very sort of methodical of like, I know this is a counselor ship. Where is that? Where is whatever? And he's giving everybody the chance.
Yep.
And then suddenly he switches and the way he says commander is just like, it's like a clap of lightning, you know what I mean, in James Earl Jones's voice. And then it's tear the ship apart until you find those plans. It's just, the consonants are explosive and it's terrifying.
What is it? And he says, "Bring me." It says, "Bring me somebody." Yeah, bring me the leaders. I want them alive.
Yeah, he says, "I want them alive." Yeah.
This gets played out throughout Vader's character later. Is that he is a hunter. I mean, that's primarily what he does for the Emperor is goes, hunts the Jedi, hunts the Empire Strikes Back begins with him hunting the rebels. Here it is, tear the ship apart, hunt them,
and then he wants them alive so he can torture them.
That's exactly right. Yeah. That's paired with that. I want them alive so that I can interrogate them and strangle them to death.
Yeah.
That's good.
That's perfect.
Boom. What's your 8?
My 8 is a pull from towards the beginning of Return of the Jedi when he shows up to the Death Star construction and the commander shows up and is like, "Oh, we're doing this. And it's great to have you here and we love you." And he says, "You may dispense with the pleasantries, Commander. I'm here to put you back on schedule."
When the hunter shows up and everybody knows he's the hunter, but he tells you, I'm your new foreman. That's
then he's like, news. "Now I'm here to do administrative work. That's how badly you've screwed this up. Here's my pen and clipboard."
The guy who likes pulling out the Iron Maiden for interrogation and now will be overseeing construction here.
Right. It's like, I'm going to need to take a look at your finances. But because it is just, and I think it's Jones's voice. There's a great clip of him on Conan talking about how they found the voice and what they realized how far you could and couldn't go with the emotion in that voice. And there's not much, but there's just these little Anakin Skywalker, as we know, is such a snarky kind of a bitch at a lot of moments. And sometimes you wonder, how does he go from that to Vader? But it's some of these like little moments where you get some of that like snotty kind of playfulness in Vader too. Where it's like, you can dispense with the pleasantries. Right. I'm here to fix all this. And you're just like, ooh. It's perfect.
The beauty of that intro, or of him on that, tri-wing ship flying towards the new Death Star, I always just think is just lovely. Is that him or is that the Emperor? I might be getting those wrong in my head for whatever reason.
No, they both show up in the same
time, right? Anyway, well, my number 10 is the Emperor will compensate you if he dies. Put him in.
Yeah.
Just not here to play.
No, and nothing matters. Like this, Han Solo's life doesn't matter.
Right?
The deal he's made, and we see that so many other times in that like 5-minute chunk of scene in Empire. The deal he's made doesn't matter. The lives don't matter. He doesn't care because he's got one thing that he's there for.
That's exactly right. There's another line, I didn't put it in, but it's essentially expressing the same thing with Han Solo as the unfortunate target of his aggression, and it's he will not be permanently damaged. Like, this is going to go badly for this guy, but, no permanent
alterations
there.
What are you worried about?
Oh, it's so good. Put him in. My number 9 is that name no longer holds any meaning for me in Jedi. This is my only Jedi pull. But him speaking with Luke saying, using the word Anakin, and him just getting ferocious. That name no longer holds any meaning for me. Bang, we're moving on. And Luke trying to pull out his true self, I suppose, is how that whole ending ends up working. But it's just shows you where the character's at.
Well, and that line, and so many other Vader lines, and so many other lines that evil characters, particularly in Star Wars, say, they're great because they sound amazing. But we also know, sure, right, yeah, sure, this doesn't matter to you, right? But it does matter because you're angry about everything, pal.
Right.
It's just like when we say now, like, I'm fine, nothing. It doesn't. You know what? This doesn't even bother me anymore. And it's like, right. Sure it doesn't, because you seem very angry and have lived a life eaten up by bitterness. But sure, yeah, none of this matters to you.
Exposing.
Right. Yeah, it's as with other sort of despotic characters, oftentimes the things they say to other people are confessions about themselves.
Right.
Do with that what you will.
My number 8, I imagine, might be a punt for you, but it's there will be a substantial reward for the one who finds the Millennium Falcon. You're free to use any methods necessary, but I want him alive. And then the real line is, no disintegrations. That tells you so much. It tells you that Vader has done this before. He has sent out bounty hunters. He's the head hunter. But he's had a pass with this guy. And this guy uses tactics that are overboard. He looks cool. We haven't even heard him speak yet. But the fact that Vader has to get in his face for a second and say, hey, you, keep it in line.
Don't go to 11 yet.
No. As you wish. All right.
And it is for a guy who has spent most of his life being the one who goes out and does the hunting. It's interesting now that he's outsourcing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly right. And that gets picked up, I suppose, in terms of how they build the lore later, because he'll have his the Inquisitors.
Oh,
he's kind of using people in that way. So you got the bounty hunter side of things, you got the Inquisitor side of things, and he's right there in the mix, carrying out justice.
Justice.
All right, what's your number 7?
My number 7 is also a quote from A New Hope, and it precedes a quote that gets mentioned a lot, but I actually like the line that's before it, and it's when he tells those guys in that board meeting, and they're talking about how great the Death Star is and how nobody will even dare touch us, and he says, "Don't be too proud of this technological terror that you've constructed." Just that line. I know. The next line is the destroying of planets and meow meow meow, but it's just so Darth Vader that he's in the room, but he's not really part of that team, and you can just tell he's so annoyed by these bureaucrats and just this no, shut up, don't put the cart before the horse, don't be so proud of this, because he's lived so much life and he knows that he's seen all the things destroyed and rebuilt and destroyed and rebuilt, and him taking a moment to. So many of my favorite Vader moments are when he is with these bureaucrats and he's just like, stop it, use your brain,
sit down, be humble. For sure. I love
it. And it's again just James Earl Jones's voice in all these too, like how he just don't be too proud. Like it's the right amount of I'm gonna say, actually, pun intended, it's the right amount of force.
Yeah. It's exactly right.
Behind what he's doing.
But this is exactly right. They're world building wise, these are bureaucrats. And world building wise, this is a very seasoned, by this point in time, space wizard, as it were, who holds that mystical, power and leverage. And he's not even, the thing about Vader, he's not Tarkin's subordinate, even though he follows him when he's on his ship. He's the Emperor's hunter, has been said. And it's a different thing. And the tension there, don't try and frighten us with your sorcerers.
And I also, just in thinking about this character, yesterday and today, but also most of my life.
Yeah.
You get the sense that this is one of the first times there's been a really big uprising or rebellion. So it almost feels like they've tracked down most of the Jedi, and there's a lot of, the Emperor and the Empire is the force, this time no pun intended,
right,
in the galaxy. So Vader, I don't actually think has gotten to go be the badass that we know he is, and it feels like some of these bureaucrats sort of forget, and just he's there. It's like, yeah, there's the guy in the black suit.
Right.
So I think they get a little dismissive and a little too high for their station with him, and you see Tarkin kind of snap at Vader and rein him back. But then once the rebellion and Luke and everybody really starts coming out, then it's almost like Vader remembers who he is. He's like, oh right, I can go into Rogue One on all of you in any moment, and I'm gonna.
Yeah. It's true. Like, he's strangling bureaucrats there, but they don't necessarily tilt towards terror. But at the beginning of Empire, that begins shifting. And I suppose he's using those same kind of bureaucrats to find, the rebels before he starts strangling those dudes.
Mm-hmm.
It's good. What was your number 6?
My number 6 comes right on the heels, actually, of you mentioning he will not be permanently damaged. When Lando is yelling at him in the elevator, and he's like, "This wasn't the deal," and he's like, "Perhaps you think you're being treated unfairly." It's just such a good bad guy line, where it's like, it sounds like an olive branch. It sounds like, oh, would you like to have a discourse about how you think that this interaction has gone? Fill in this card. No, it's like, would you like to ask another question? See where that gets you?
Yep.
Dead man.
I didn't realize how many great lines are said between Lando and Vader. Like, that's not like the pairing that goes off in my mind on, the dialogue, you really need to look, but just over and over again. And my next one is going to be between the two of them. But that's just right.
When we were talking about this, and I started putting this list together, so many of the lines that I just remembered without having to Google them or look them up, I realized, and I told you this off mic, but when I was thinking of just great James Earl Jones Darth Vader lines, for like 45 seconds, I would have argued vehemently that "You are my son and you have forgotten who you are" is a Darth Vader line, and then I was like, no, idiot, that's Mufasa. Yeah, he has a son too. Totally different set of circumstances. But so many of the actual lines that I remembered, not only were they from Empire Strikes Back, they come from this 10, 15 minutes of the film.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's great writing, and just particularly, like, you don't just remember the writing, you remember how Vader says them.
Yep.
And again, it's just James Earl Jones's gorgeous voice.
Yeah, the emotion, all the emotion for Vader is coming out of the voice, because I'm sure you've seen that T-shirt that has like 9 Vaders.
Yeah,
and it's like happy, sad, angry, kind of thing. But this is
which is funny. You can do the same T-shirt with young Hayden Christensen.
So
it's the same thing: happy, sad, angry, same.
I'm trying. The character is a passionate character.
Yeah,
and he's a passionate character, and yet it's. With the exception of camera angles and maybe how he moves his body, but you just don't see it aside from that. So it's good. But the Vader coming down, perhaps you think you're being treated unfairly.
And just that little pause.
Yeah.
It's not a big pause. It's just, perhaps you think you're being treated unfairly.
Lando apparently a little bit wiser than the Death Star bureaucrats.
Yeah.
It's
smart guy. He's a smart guy.
It's like, no.
He's not at the beginning of the scene. It is just to speak to the character of Lando.
Yeah.
It is cool to watch and to watch Billy D. Williams' performance and obviously the writing, but it's like he starts by being very like, come on, what are you talking about with Vader? And then by the end of that scene, you see him sort of like put the plane together in the air and realize that's not going to get me what I want. So how do I... which is great. I mean, when you think about like what acting is, right? Like, what do these characters want? What is getting in their way? What are they doing to get it? What are the objectives? Like, it's why Empire is just a great movie. It's one of the best movies ever made.
It's true. It's true. My number 7 is a Lando line, and this is Vader raises up a little bit. I'm altering the deal. Pray I don't alter it any further.
Yeah.
Like we've been bargaining. We've been, I'll give you this, you give me this, and then all of a sudden it's I have enormous power, and this is what is going to happen, and then it was just done.
But it's also that in that same way that Shakespearean kings and dukes, like I just got done playing, certainly not as great of a character as Darth Vader, but I just got done playing Duke Theseus in a Midsummer Night's Dream production.
Uh-huh.
And there are those great moments where you think, oh no, here comes the hammer, and then these benevolent dictators, Vader's not a benevolent dictator, but Hermia is so angry and is yelling in the court, and then Theseus says, "Take time to pause," and you think, "Oh God, here it comes." But then he says, "And by the next new moon, then we'll see what happens." And I think that's what this line is too. Yeah. It's this great, like, I'm altering this thing. Oh God, everybody's gonna die, and then it's that, pray I don't alter it any further.
Yeah,
and it's just that, like, I'm gonna give you till the count of 10. To regroup and think.
Yep.
Then we'll see.
It's truth. My number 6 is another torture scene. It's now, Your Highness, will discuss the location of the hidden rebel base with the sinister circular robot and syringe sticking out the front, coming into her space. Good times right there. This is how this is going to go. We're going to have a pleasant discussion with with a syringe.
Yeah, or this ball thing that actually looks like you could probably knock it out of the air pretty easily.
Right.
Is going to attack you, but whatever. Yeah.
It does have some sinister sounds and.
Yeah, it's travel it's a travel sized Dalek from Doctor Who.
That's right. Leia looks none too pleased, and the door shuts rather aggressively behind him. Boom. All right, so we're in the top 5, so we'll just go back and forth. What's your number 5?
My number 5 is The Emperor is not as forgiving as I.
Yeah, right. You like that intro to Return of the Jedi.
I do. I know. I'm shocked. I'm surprised how much was from here. But when I really started thinking, I was like, oh, right. I love that.
Yeah.
Because we've seen, he's not forgiving.
He's not forgiving at all. That's right.
And it's just, again, the way Jones delivers it. It's perfect. Yep. It tells you everything you need to know. And there's so much there.
In that scene, the actor who's working with the guy in the suit is he hears it. It's like overacting. He does this little gulp and
but I like it. You know what I mean? Like, there's just something that I kind of dig about it.
It's the black hat, white hat. It's for the kids, but it is. The bureaucrats are now terrified. I wonder where the shift is. The shift in is it in Empire? The bureaucrats start getting strangled from light years away, and
Yeah, because I think A New Hope is the first time we see anybody really make us to connect Rogue One and New Hope. Those are the first times we've really seen anybody make a stand in years.
Yeah.
And so it kind of, I think, reawakens in Vader not who he is, but who he has been for the last several years of his life, and sort of is like poking the bear.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go.
And he's had to sort of grin and bear all these bureaucratic dinguses pushing him around and thinking they're better than him. So suddenly it's like, oh, right. I can do this.
Yeah.
Here we go. I like this. I forgot about this. Let's do more of this.
Well, speaking of force choking, gentlemen from across the way, my number 5 is apology accepted, Captain Nita.
Captain Nita.
Just dude rolling over in frame.
Yeah. That gets referenced in one of my absolute favorite comedy moments in 30 Rock.
Uh-huh.
in the pilot of 30 Rock. They have to go up to new management's office, and they're talking about it's Pete who is the showrunner and producer talking to Liz Lemon, who is the creator and head writer, and she's like, I never want to go up there. I hate it. I hate anytime you have to have a real conversation with those corporate people, and it's like when you see Darth Vader out of his mask and whatever, and they're like, what if he cancels us? What if he does whatever? And then Pete starts to leave, and she goes, don't make me go up there by myself. And he goes, you'll be fine, Captain Nita, as the doors are shutting. And she goes, no, Captain Nita dies. He dies.
Not as forgiving. All those dudes, though, in Empire, asteroids don't concern me. Admiral, well, it's you have failed me for the last time. Those sorts of lines of between, showing how imposing he is. It's just all set up for the end. When Luke finally confronts this guy, he has been shown to be a merciless killer, of what appear to be, grown-ass men who do not fare well at all. Brings the tension in. So, what's your number 4?
Doesn't he also? It's Empire, right? Where Vader says he is as clumsy as he is stupid, like in just how he talks to these guys. It's like, damn, man. Like,
he alerted them to our presence. He's as clumsy as he is stupid. Just
there it is. Right? Yeah,
total condescension. Again,
and is a force choke through a Zoom call.
Yeah.
Which boy, haven't we all wanted to do that a few times in the last 10 years?
What's your number 4?
My number 4, to continue the theme of what we've actually been talking about, force choking and disappointment. My number 4 is from Rogue One, when he begins to choke Director Krennic, and he drops, and even though it's in a big mask, like you could see, like it was the person to be like eyebrow raised and like whatever, he turns and says, be careful not to choke on your aspirations, Director. It's
one of the more controversial lines, I think. It either hits you and you're like, this is wonderful,
I love it. And anybody who doesn't like it can go screw themselves. But I just love, and again, to talk about, like, if you had to pinpoint it, he's had to eat so many bowls of shit from all these bureaucrats.
Yeah.
This kind of feels like the first time where he goes, oh, right, I'm Darth Vader.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look at all of this. Listen to how I breathe. Isn't that scary enough on its own? Like, look at the rest. My lightsaber is crimson red. I don't have a face. Like, so then suddenly it's like that. Something just clicks, and he chokes that guy a little. And doesn't even kill him. He just, like, chokes him a little bit.
Yep.
Just to be like, remember?
Quick reminder who has the power here.
And then he's snarky, because Anakin Skywalker is snarky. So any line where you get to see Darth Vader be snarky, I'm here for. When you get to see, when it feels like he's having fun.
Yes. Loved that they brought Vader into Rogue One, and obviously there's no lines in the hallway scene, so you can't say anything there, but special tip of the cap, of course.
Well, and the fact that I don't know, I don't know if we've said this on the show before or not, or if we've just talked about it, but like the fact that his breathing is so loud, and the fact that they're in that hallway and you don't hear him breathing, which you then realize this is how much of a bamf Darth Vader is, that he was suffocating himself in that hallway to be able to get the drop on those ding-dongs and kill them.
That's what that button in the front, second one from the left, says. Just turn off the scuba tank for a second.
That down. Yeah. Awesome.
So good. Well, my number 4, as was referenced earlier, is Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your father. And for me, just re-looking at the language, the thing that hit me is, he is trying to separate Luke from Obi-Wan. That's what this whole interaction is about.
Oh, truly,
and
yeah.
Him trying to get between he and Obi-Wan and separate Luke for his own purposes, which I don't know really had ever occurred to me. But this is the move right here, where it's like you do realize you've been lied to, and it's even, and then obviously the reveal. So all of that, I'm separating you from Obi-Wan. I'm showing you that what you had trusted in the past ought not be trusted, and I'm establishing a legitimate connection, something you really desire, and I bet you he knows he desires, of being connected to his father, who he's never known. All of that
big
is
time.
in that, just those two lines. That whole thing, that's my number one, dialogue. We didn't do any of the dialogues, but number one dialogue in Star Wars is obviously just everything through that that battle there in Cloud City between those two. And Mark Hamill's acting his ass off. Mark Hamill is so good in that scene, in my mind.
He is acting very hard. That is true.
Is it too far for you?
No. The only is those two when he's on that, when he's grabbing that thing and it's like, he told me plenty. He told me you kill. That's the one. And then the no, that's not true. That's impossible. Those are the only two where I'm like,
Goes a little too far.
Cut. Let's talk about a different choice.
Interesting.
But everything else is great. But those are the only two.
Yeah.
Where I just go,
Ah,
but
that one,
it
works for me. So that's
and it's great.
But that's
like, don't get me wrong, it's still great, and it's I'm just like, not the choices I would make. But when somebody wants to put me in a franchise and I do work that people give a crap about, 35, 50 years later, then we can talk.
What's your number 3?
My number 3 is another Jedi. They're all Jedi. Another Return of the Jedi is there is no escape. Don't make me destroy you.
Yes. Well, that's actually no, that's Empire. That's
no, it is Empire. Yeah, you're right. Sorry, I was like,
Proceeding.
no, that's wrong. Yeah,
but the ferocity of Vader has been set up in the movie. Now Luke is on his back. I think that, like, the energy coming off him. I agree. I had that written down as one of my also rans, but so much to pull from there.
and it just I think it's another moment where it shows who he is. There is the bureaucratic crap that he has to do. There is the dispense with the pleasantries. I'm here to put you back on schedule. There's all this like babysitting bullshit that I have to do as Darth Vader, but it's like, no, this is like who he is and what he can do. I can and will destroy you
Right.
easily.
Right.
The scene where you see him start using the Force and just pulling everything in that room and throwing it at Luke, you're like, and he's doing it with the ease of flipping a light switch.
Truth.
You're like, right, this is the one of the most powerful beings in the universe.
Yeah, he's already intimidating. This is true. Him just standing back for a second and throwing objects. We weren't prepared for this, and
right,
and they clearly are hurting Luke. He's clearly
because they're like radiators and shit, like space radiators.
Yeah, it's the Mercedes engine flying at his head.
Right, right.
Absolutely true. All of that, the intimidation factor is just so high, and he's on his back, and then his arm gets cut off, and then you're dropping bombs, and it's not it's not the same as with Lando. I'm altering the deal. This is what's going to happen. He's trying to get Luke's volition. He's trying to get Luke to make a choice. That became, when seeing that for the first time, I would have been 5, and I'm watching it in the theater. And when he jumped off the ledge, everything was terrifying. And then you have your hero commit suicide, is what it looked like.
Right,
there
because
for a
you
second.
don't know. Yeah,
we're so used to watching him go down whatever that tube is.
That I remember giving me so much anxiety as a little kid watching that too. When he falls down that thing, and he's like. He's got one hand and he's upside down gripping onto that weather vane thing underneath there, waiting for that. Like, I just remember even as a young little person being like, this is profoundly upsetting.
Yep. Yeah.
And I hope something good happens.
It's so upsetting. And Hamill is acting as though he's very, very injured. And obviously he is. He's got a handgun, and it looks very uncomfortable to hit that weather vane.
Right,
it's like, ooh,
yeah,
it might bite a little on that soft spot on your thighs. Well, my number 3 is I find your lack of faith disturbing.
It's a good one.
Did this make your 10?
It did not.
That's interesting how different our lists are. Again, a quiet moment punctuated by that's really him saying, "You're not in control here, little man." It's
Vader
release him. Anytime that somebody has to tell you to release a person.
Yeah. Does that look like a guy you should be screwing with? It's like those dogs that you have to break their teeth to get them to let, like their jaws lock and you can't get them off a thing.
I mean, that's in essence what it is. It's like the pit bull has you by the throat.
Right. Yeah. I seen White Fang.
His devotion, we've talked about this in the past, but his devotion to the Force, his devotion to the spirituality, it comes out in that first movie really strong, maybe even stronger than other places, because he's not devoted clearly to the technological terror as we talked about.
Yeah, no, he's devoted because he's lived a life. I mean, we talked to Obi-Wan Kenobi too. It's like he's continued to train, he's continued to practice because he tells him, this is what it was when we left. This is where we are now.
Yeah.
Like he's continued to, even though it's the wrong version, quote unquote, or so to speak, like he's continued to walk in this faith that has brought him nothing but pain, yet obviously because it's what he's steeped in, it's what he continues to do.
I love that. He has continued to practice. That's a great call. I think that's right. Bang, what's your number 2?
My number 2, I realized, I know we were supposed to say the punt thing, and my brain just didn't store it because it doesn't
That's right.
do the sports. My number 2 actually is, I'm altering the deal, pray I don't alter it any farther.
Oh, well, there you go. Those 2 Lando lines, though. Come on.
Yeah, and I think my 3, my 2, and my 1, and also 4 a little bit, I think those are like quintessential who Darth Vader is lines to me, because he is a mercenary. He's the boss. He is in charge. He can destroy you if he wants to without breaking a sweat. It's the Eddie Izzard, it's her joke about Darth Vader in the cafeteria where he's ordering food and they say, you'll need a tray. And Eddie as Vader says, do you know who I am? I could kill you without a tray. It's because it's that powerful. And him saying, I'm altering the deal. Pray I don't alter it any further. It's like, yeah, I know I'm lying.
Right.
I came in here knowing I was going to lie to you. I don't care. And you don't matter to me.
Right.
And it's the F around and find out. Pray I don't alter it any further is like, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Go ahead.
See what happens. This is like, and again, it's like, I'm Darth Vader.
Yep.
Ask all these other people how. Oh, right, you can't because they're dead.
Because the reference there is him saying, Lando saying, you said that the Wookiee and Leia could stay in the city under my supervision, I think. And it was just,
yeah, he says that wasn't the deal.
Yeah. I'm not exactly sure why Vader wants them. I should probably look into that. I have no idea why. Or maybe it's just a power move. Like, look,
Probably,
I'm getting what I want
watched
in all
the
these
whole
situations.
scene. I didn't rewatch, obviously, all of Empire to do this, but I watched that chunk of scene from him showing up at the dinner party, which is just such a great film moment. It just says so much about like who Vader is and who Han Solo is. At the minute that door opened, Vader stands up. Han pulls out the gun immediately. It's like, well, what do you think that's going to do? But it's just so good.
Another quiet moment there. It was another one on my also ran, but we would be honored if you would join us.
Right.
Very
I almost did that one too.
calm. That man
Again,
just shot.
You don't have a choice.
Right? Shots fired, and we would be honored if you join us. It's so good. Yeah, and you don't have a choice is right. Doors closed behind you.
It's the beast banging on Belle's door, being like, "You'll join me for dinner." That's not a request.
Well, my number 2 is from Rebels. So this is my only pull from the animated stuff, but it's a top 3 moment for me is his dialogue with Ahsoka. They finally see each other after many years. She has never seen Darth Vader, and they get into a dialogue. But my favorite of the lines is Anakin Skywalker was weak. I destroyed him.
Mm-hmm.
And the 4 lines are just tremendous. It's Anakin Skywalker was weak, I destroyed him. And she says back, just raises up, well, I'll avenge his death. And Vader says, revenge isn't the Jedi way. And she says, I'm no Jedi. And it's on. It's just such a great, fill the space. But
it's got almost a Tolkien feel to it. You know, no man can destroy me. I am no man.
That's exactly what it is. But it's again self-understanding really coming out in this image of what has happened to get him to this place This is the way backstory or even prequel ought to look, is something like this. And
And
his
I think,
choice.
interestingly, Vader is often so right in his assessment of what he's going to say to people to shake them, how he's going to talk to Luke. You know, he knows how to bait Luke out, where he finally says, "Oh, right, you have a sister, and if you won't turn, she will." And that, boom, that gets him out. Screwing with Lando about, like, this is the deal, you want me to change it anymore, provokes Lando in the ways he wants him to back down. He knows how to get the bureaucrats that he works with to step out of line, and then he can punish them. It is interesting, anytime he interacts with Ahsoka, he seems to have forgotten who she is and forgotten that shit won't work on her.
Yeah.
And I think that's so interesting.
Certainly matured, she has, by that point in time.
Yeah, his mistake is assuming that she's still 14.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Matured, she has. That came out in some Yoda ease as I was saying it.
Awesome.
Love that. Yeah, and builds on that in terms of I didn't add any of the lines from Ahsoka with Hayden Christensen, but there was some good stuff there. Obviously, it's not James Earl Jones stuff. All right, number one. What's your number one?
My number one, and again, I preface this saying I have not watched a lot of Rebels, but I watched a compilation.
This is your number one?
This is my number one because I think this I like this so much because I feel like it is so much of, like I said, my 1 through 4 I kind of chose as favorites, but also favorites because I feel like they reveal so much of who Vader / Anakin as a character truly is, and how they think the world works, and also what they're afraid of.
Yeah,
it's when Ezra and Jarrus are fighting Vader, and he's knocked the older guy out, and he's using the Force to put the lightsaber against the other kid's neck, and he looks right at him and he says, "Your master has deceived you into believing you can become a Jedi." That's hardcore.
Yeah.
Just in general, especially in a child's cartoon,
right?
He's gonna slice this kid's head off with his own weapon, and he's also telling him, like, everything you believe is a lie. But I just think that line, like, I saw that and it stopped me for a minute, and I immediately backed it up and watched it again, and then I backed it up and watched it again, and then I started reordering my list of things that I feel like betray or get into Darth Vader's psyche of who he is, and that's what all of this is.
Yeah.
Because he knows. Even if he's not admitting it, he knows.
Right.
He's saying, hey, you got lied to and tricked into believing this thing, and now all your shit's about to get rocked and be destroyed. Sound familiar? Don't look at me.
Did not realize how much gaslighting goes on with this character, and that's exactly what's going on there, is calling into question your beliefs and making you feel like you're crazy for believing the things you have. And
it's because he was.
Yeah, he's weaponizing the same tactics that destroyed him.
He's so scared and broken inside of that black suit, even though he's wrecking shop and everyone's scared of him. He is still the little boy they find in Tatooine, hoping to be rescued, I think.
Right.
And all of Vader, but I think the 1 through 4, maybe even 5 that I picked, I'm like, I feel like those betray who that guy is so well.
Yep. The trust issues are all over this character. If you get into some of my other work with Enneagram and the rest, if you go to Movie Typing, my other podcast, go through the character of Anakin Skywalker and just really hit the fact that he doesn't trust himself and weaponizes that against others in terms of trying to get them not to trust themselves. And that's over and over again, the play. You know, every Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your father. It's like you need to distrust your master. Your master told you could be a Jedi. Nope. Notice my blade next to your neck. That's awesome.
But also, Obi-Wan told him he could be a Jedi. Obi-Wan didn't tell him the truth.
True.
You know, and again, it's the I said it as a joke earlier, and I'm going to say it seriously again now. Every accusation, every statement, every taunt is a confession.
Yep.
With Darth Vader, if you really start thinking about little Anakin Skywalker all the way through to dead old man Anakin Skywalker, everything he says is out of his own hurt and brokenness and desire for things to not be that way.
Yeah, it's great.
Which is why I picked that line as my number one, because I was like, this is it, man. Like this is the thesis for the whole guy.
Yep. The range of my number one, and it strikes me as arguably what I think is the most beautiful moment in the original trilogy, and it's a Cloud City moment when Luke finally is going to confront Vader. He's elevated, backlit, darkness, and his booming voice comes out. The Force is with you, young Skywalker, but you're not a Jedi yet. And it's so well delivered. It's just clean, elegant, and then that's where they really use, for the first time, I think, the beauty of those lightsabers, because Luke's goes off, and then the red goes off and colors things, and it's just like, oh, it's on.
Yeah. Which is one of the few things I think they perfected beautifully for Obi-Wan, like those shots of those lightsabers and how they just great.
Agreed. Yeah, that's what I got, I suppose. Lots of Empire. What I got 1, 2, 3, I think 6 of mine. Yeah, 6 of my quotes come from Empire. So tip of the cap to Kasner on that one. Really, I wouldn't have guessed that. I would have guessed that it was kind of across the board, but
5 from Empire for me.
Yeah. They just really hit that. Vader, they use Vader in the Clone Wars at the very, very end of the Clone Wars. He shows up, but doesn't say anything. Just says a few things in Rebels. Just has that one Krennic dialogue in Rogue One, and then and that's it, man. And then we're launching into the original trilogy, and I suppose the Vader stuff comes out with Christian Haydenson and Ahsoka. And I suppose there's, Rise of Skywalker has James Earl Jones representing the dark side of the Force, I suppose, if you remember that, where they're calling all the voices and such. But anyway, yeah. And we don't need to go there.
Yeah, we sure don't. Didn't we do a whole ass episode about that?
We did it on, The Last Jedi.
Oh, that's right.
So I have not been able to get through Rise of Skywalker the second time. I keep turning it off. So
no, I saw it 2 times in theaters. I saw it once with some friends.
Yep.
Maybe you, honestly, and then once with my family.
Yeah. You're just like, all right.
It's like, okay, well, did that.
Did that. But
James, he's a AFI has him on the list of top 5 greatest movie villains of all time.
Yeah.
He's in the 5. He might be 4. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's the Wicked Witch of the West, Hannibal Lecter, and Darth Vader.
Yeah.
So like, how is the Wicked Witch of the West number 1? But whatever.
There's the image of him, obviously, in the dark suit and such. But to be honest, like, you look at that outfit versus a lot of the sinister-looking villains in their costume design today, and Darth Vader doesn't necessarily stand up. That's how much work James Earl Jones is doing to make that character sinister over and against, all the followers.
Yeah, it's because without James Earl, David Prowse in that suit is imposing and an athlete and incredibly impressive as hell. That documentary about him is phenomenal. Go watch it. And I'm forgetting what it's called, but there's a great documentary about that. But you don't have Vader without the voice of James Earl Jones.
Right.
You don't have the thing that I remember being little and my dad being really excited to show me and my brother the Star Wars movies, and Vader coming on screen and like breathing and beginning to talk. And then I vividly remember like going and hiding behind the couch.
Right. To
still watch it, but to sort of put an object between you and the scary man.
Yeah,
terrifying. It's the work of James Earl Jones. He was a genius, and there's never gonna be another James Earl Jones. And again, case in point, that's why Lucasfilm is digitally producing his voice now, because you're not gonna find anybody who can do that.
Right. That's it. It's good. All right, friends. Well, we do have plans for more Star Wars binge as the material is released. The next time Daniel and I get together, it's going to be talking about the future of Star Wars. We have opinions. Apparently,
Yes, we do.
we need to drive this ship somewhere. Apparently, it feels like things are kind of on rocky ground over there at Lucasfilm, and so throw out if we were in charge. Here are some things that we think they ought to perhaps consider.
Stop listening to the worst possible people's opinions about Star Wars, just as a teaser.
I mean, dear artists out there, it is just a mistake to listen to the trolls and clowns who object to your work. They're not into your work. Let them.
Yeah. Don't listen to people who aren't part of your thing's advice.
It's fine. Like create what you're supposed to create.
Yeah.
Lots to say there. So we'll come back and knock those out. And who knows? Maybe we'll do. I really enjoyed the top 10 list. Maybe we'll do another top 10.
Yeah. Same.
Right. So again, tip of the cap to John Roca and Matt Nost, whose top 10 show was really enjoyable for me and got me through many long days of parenting with my kids screaming, and I needed something in my ears to keep my brain occupied.
Child screams, yeah.
So much love to those men. And that's
David Letterman and the folks at the Worldwide Pants Industry for popularizing the top 10 list.
The original, the OG top 10 for sure.
Yes, no one put lists in groups of 10 before.
But this was... And we might as well shout out to Moses while we're at it.
I guess that's true. That one was less fun, though.
Needed some lightheartedness. Needed the Mel Brooks spin on that. The Lord gives you these 15...
10
commandments. It's such a good joke.
That's a deep cut, man. People don't think about that one.
History of the World Part 2, y'all.
Is on Hulu.
It's Bob, does this man have any holes? Do I have any holes that this man might fit? What is her line? It's so good. It's
Madeline Kahn.
Madeline Kahn.
As Caesar's wife.
Yeah, right. It's something. It's spun so well. Do I have any holes that this man might fit? And all the guys around her go, whoa!
Yeah. Gregory Hines just looks at the camera.
Gregory Hines.
Good old Mel Brooks. They're doing, speaking of Star Wars, they're doing Spaceballs 2. It officially got greenlit. Josh Gad is co-writing it and producing it.
Oh, that'll be a review for us. I'm sure we'll love the hell out of that one.
I'd love to do that, yeah.
All right, well, that's what we...
Legacy sequels, man, it's where it's at. Beetlejuice is A, the #1 movie in the world right now, and B, delightful.
Really?
I went and had a blast.
Oh, good. Good.
And was astonished at how many little children were there.
Was it not for kids?
No.
Okay.
Like
there you
the
go.
first one's not.
I saw it in middle school, and I'm thinking it's just fine. But perhaps I'm wrong.
I mean, I wouldn't show it to little kids, but as friend of the podcast, TJ Wilson pointed out when I observed to him, why are there so many kids here? His response was, because our generation are terrible parents.
Fair. Well, that's what I got for the bench today. You got anything else there, Mother Shed?
Just to say, huge loss for the performing arts community and fans of film and television to lose James Earl Jones, and he's 93. He had an amazing life and was probably ready to go, but yeah, he was nobody's better than him, and we'll miss him, and hopefully he rests in power, and everybody's gonna remember him for forever, so he's never gonna really be gone.
Truth. Well said. Please, Daniel Mother Shed. He's amazing, and I'm Jeff Cook. Look forward to talking to you next time.
Sounds good, because this is the way.
I forget all of our endings now. I need to get my stuff together. Come on, podcast host. This is the way.